click it, and we'll get started. Obviously, if you, as I said, if you don't want to be on the video, if there's any people on the videos, it won't go up on YouTube anyway. So the plan with this chat is to have a look over the distress and the urgency side, and we're going to concentrate on the DSC side as well, because running the VHF courses is one, and using VHFs, there's definitely one side that doesn't really get done that much. I've certainly used the DSC side for routine calling probably less than half a dozen times, yet I teach it on every VHF course that we run. Certainly had quite a few alerts come in over the last few years on the client of using Milbrook, because she's got quite a big antenna, so she tends to pick up quite a lot more. Just before we kind of dive too far into it, this is what we intend to cover tonight. So what is DSC, digital side of all the radios? The distress or urgency, take your pick. Which one do you pick? What scenario? When do you make the call that it's distress, and when do you make the call that it's not? Check my pointer up. Then we've got distress, the alert and the message, include the DSC bit in there, and then the same for urgency alert. And if everything's worked right, I hope it will, we've got 3 little videos which are recorded earlier. They're kind of silent videos, so it allows me, well, silent-ish, there's no talking in them, but I can talk over it, and it shows the training radios that we've got sending the various alerts. And it should work. I did a dry run earlier, and it seemed to work, but this is the real thing, so it'll fail imminently. So I thought it's worth just having a quick look at the types of radio that we have. It's not really part of tonight's session, but I thought it kind of beneficial anyway. We've got your kind of standard icon. This is the one we use on 2 of the boats, and it's the same one we've got in the training ones in the classroom. If it's a DSC radio, if it's a digital select radio, have a red distress button, some kind of cover on it. The icons tend to have them on the front, we've got SIMRAD here, and for the purpose of not throwing icon at you for the next half an hour, we've got a little bit of standard Horizon, SIMRAD, and Cobra as well. And these are all DSC radios. These 2, and including the icon down here, they're handhelds, but they are still DSC radios. They've got an inbuilt GPS, and the only difference is the distress button will be hidden on the back of it. Majority of times it will anyway, and it will still have the plastic cover. Downside to these is the battery life. So these ones are kind of base sets, they're connected in, hardwired into the boat. The only time they will stop working is if someone cuts the antenna or the power turns off to the boat. Using these ones, they're very similar to kind of iPhones in terms of battery life. If you compare the non-DSC versions of these, I kind of liken them to the Nokia 3310 of old, which you could turn on in your pocket and come back to it 7 days later, and it was still about 95% charge. That's the same with the icons. You'll get 4 or 5 days charge out of them. The kind of Cobras and the standard Horizons are about the same. The minute you turn the GPS on, you're down to about 7 or 8 hours. But that said, if you want to be found, turn that VHF on, you'll get your position in kind of 10-15 seconds on the handheld, and then you can press that DSC button. So it's got a particular use, and although I'm kind of knocking the battery life slightly, I'd still quite happily have one. The only reason I don't is I have the non-GPS version of this one currently, and until that dies, I see no reason to buy another one. Because I'm pretty much always on a boat that's got a DSC radio. But the minute I start doing a lot of own boat training and moving away, I might well purchase one. Anyway, so they all do the same thing. We might end up doing another chat where we have a look at the kind of the basic functions of radios. So we'll leave that for now. So, what DSC calling is. Have a look at the chat box, make sure there's no questions because it's hidden from my view. So it's a digital pulse of information. Think about it like a text message that contains a couple of bits of information. It's who you're calling and who you are. And that's pretty much it. The idea is it's sent over channel 70. You will really struggle now to buy a base station radio, so the two big radios at the top of the previous slide that aren't DSC enabled. The only time you'll ever find them is if you go deep into the kind of the bowels of eBay, and then you might find one or two sets, but I wouldn't bother. Go and buy a DSC set. Handhelds, you can still buy a lot of handhelds that aren't DSC. I think all the main manufacturers, ICOM especially, they only do one DSC set on the handheld radios. Everything else is non-DSC. Has to be a covered distress button. You still get the odd radio that's got a red channel 16 button on it, and that's not the same thing. The red channel 16 button sends you back to channel 16, and that's it. On the radios a few years ago, or sorry, on the radios kind of nowadays, they've updated it, and the red buttons have turned blue. Distinguish it from the DSC button. So the DSC side essentially turns your radio into a mobile phone. You put MMSI numbers, and we'll come on to what an MMSI number is in a second. You can input that into the radio's memory, much like your phone. Contact them by MMSI. So it's like me sending you guys a text. And if we are in distress, then it sends it in a matter of seconds. I'll come back onto that bit when we start talking about distress in a minute. 4 types of calls and alerts. Really, there's 1 type of call and 3 types of alerts. But we'll all under this for now. So we've got a routine call, and I probably will end up doing another chat on the routine side of it. But for now, we're going to look at distress. And there's 2 types of those, undesignated and designated. And that's hitting that red button or going into the menu, selecting the distress scenario you're in, and then pressing the red button. Or we've got an urgency call. And I know I said I wouldn't kind of throw ICOM radios kind of down your neck, so I'm doing that a little bit. I apologise. It's the only VHFs we've got in the training classroom currently. So the minute I want any kind of training aids, videos, etc., I've got to go ICOM. But in my defence, I think ICOM are fantastic radios. They're easy to use, they're cheap, they're pretty much indestructible. Moving away from that slightly, the last of the DSC calls we get is a safety call. And they're really quite rare. It's quite unusual for boaters in the kind of the small boat commercial side, the leisure side, to send a safety call. The reason you do it is if you came across something in the water, but the easiest way is to phone the Coast Guard or radio the Coast Guard and go, I'm here, I've got that over there, can you transmit to everyone in their area? And they will do. So with an MMSI, every single DSC radio will have an individual MMSI number. You will not have 2 radios with the same MMSI as things stand at the moment. There was a rumour a few years ago that Ofcom were running out of MMSI numbers, but that rumour hasn't surfaced for a few years. We can tell a number of things from the MMSI, and the one thing we can, with this little box up here, is the first 3 numbers. That tells me the nationality. So a UK vessel, commercial or leisure, makes no difference. It's going to have either 232, 233, 234, or 235 at the start of it. And then the other numbers, they're made up like the National Lottery. They're a total random concoction of numbers, but it makes up 9 numbers, and that is your unique MMSI number there. That's stored in the radio, and the minute you get the new radio or you upgrade to a DSC radio and you turn it on for the first time, you have to input your MMSI number. And that is worth just taking a few extra seconds, because if it's done wrong, either you go back to your local ICOM dealer and go, please can you reset my radio, or you disconnect your radio and send it off to ICOM for a fee, and they'll reset it. It can't be done ourselves. But it will ask you twice, so it's worth just confirming that that is the right one. So it's Maritime Mobile Service Identity. Essentially your mobile phone number for the boat, unique to you, and the Coast Guard will pick that up every single time they get an alert. Issued through Ofcom. Currently it is free. It used to be a small charge, but it's now free. But you've got to the downside of that is you've got to navigate their website, which is somewhat tricky. Definitely not the easiest website to use. So, a little bit of background knowledge there. And the whole idea of tonight's chat is to have a look at kind of pan versus distress, kind of mayday, urgency, and the digital side as well. Very simply, if you think you are in grave and imminent danger, hit that red button. It's a distress call. The pan, the most common reason that the lifeboat gets called out is for broken down boat, whether the engine's failed or it's got budgie fuel, so the engine's just decided it's not going to work, or something has stopped that boat from running. Fairly common for boats to get towed in towards the start of season when they've the owners have turned the engine on, taken her out for the first trip of the season, and the engine goes, I've just had 6 months off, I'm not going to work for you, I'm going to turn off. Normally a little bit of rough water will chop up everything in the bottom of the tank, and that's when you find out you've got dodgy fuel or you've got fuel bag and the engine will stop. Although it may seem like the worst case scenario, you're not in distress, it's not grave and imminent danger, so it falls into the category of a pan. You're going to need assistance, just not blue lighting. In other words, I quite often use the analogy when we're in the classroom that you can finish a cup of tea if the lifeboat's going to come to you and then come and get me. I don't need you to drop everything and bolt down to the station, but I will need assistance in some way. So there's just a few examples, and they, with that exception of the first one, they almost always result in needing a tow. And emphasize the point, you're not required straight away. The medical assistance one is an interesting one, because I firmly, when I talk about the kind of medical assistance of an urgency call, it used to be a pan medico, going back a good few years, but they kind of wiped that, chucked it all under the urgency call. I'm talking about myself here, and I've got other instructors that are kind of medically qualified as well, and we do talk about this bit very differently. I do the one-day first aid course every couple of years. Am I really medically qualified enough to go, that's not a distress call, I can get help, or I'll just make my way to shore and then we'll get assistance. Head bang or broken arm, could be a trip down the stairs or something. It's a really grey area, and I tend to err on the side of caution unless I'm 110% happy that it is just a slight bang on the arm and they'll be all right. If in doubt, hit that red button and get help purely on the medical side, because what the Coast Guard can do is they can downgrade it. And we're quite lucky in the UK. Lots of foreign countries operate slightly differently. But if you phone the Coast Guard and go, I need medical advice, they will connect you to one of about kind of 10 or 15 doctors through the VHF that have kind of marine experience, so know the scenario you're likely to be in, know the constraints of being on any type of sailing vessel, a merchant vessel, or small powerboat. They'll give you advice, and the Coast Guard will monitor it. And if they go, yeah, actually, I think it is a distress, and it was right to make it a distress call, lifeboat's probably already en route to you. Or if they go, actually, let's get this guy off there quickly, he's going to go downhill rapidly, you've got a helicopter as well. So that's the medical side. Distress, you use the easy phrase, the shit's just the fan, it's all gone horribly wrong, you are in grave and imminent danger. And include yourself, include the boats, aircraft, all the other vehicles, because the aircraft use it as well. But we're concerned with the first two, for us being on a boat and the boat that we're on as well. The critical bit is you do need immediate assistance. It's now not finish your party, it's chuck your cup of tea down, jump in that lifeboat, or launch the helicopter and come to my assistance. And this little photo up on the top right corner, I think he's gone well beyond the Mayday side, but as an example, vessel on fire. So that depends on which side of the fence you sit, okay? Is it a 999 call, or is it, I kind of need assistance? I don't quite know who we need assistance from, but I'll need assistance at some point. So, on the Mayday side of things, right, just jump there. We've got two different types. run undesignated, press that red button, send the alert out, and do it quickly. Or we've got a designated one. You go into the menu, you select the type of distress you're in, you press and hold the button, follow the instructions. I am firmly in that previous category, undesignated, hit that red button, don't wait for the instructions to jump, press that red button and then deal with the scenario that you've got on the boat. Because you could be sinking, you could have a collision, you could have a medical emergency, you could be on fire. The last thing you want to be doing is faffing around trying to find that button and go, I know it's in here somewhere, I just can't quite find it, because you'll end up going back to the undesignated one anyway. Don't waste the time. Some radios will only allow you to send a designated call, and it's worth reading the manual for this. Simrad, I know, and I was reading a manual just before we started this little Zoom call tonight. Simrad in particular, get you to press the button lightly, and then the designated menu comes up, and then you've got to select it, and then press and hold it again to send it. Whereas if you just press and hold, send the designated call. So that it does change between radios, so it's well worth familiarising yourself with the set you've got on the boat. What does happen though, whichever way you send a DSC call, undesignated or designated, or whatever set you've got, 3, possibly 4 bits of information will go out. One's in black every single time. Your MMSI number. So the Coast Guard and other vessels know who you are. They know where you are, if it was inputted or not. If it's a base set and it's connected in, it's hardwired into the boat, it will have GPS. The GPS is on the screen, that's the position that goes out. And critically, the time that you press that red button. If you selected a designated call, then the nature of distress would go out as well. And I've got a couple of hopefully videos coming up in a second to show both these two and the difference between it. And if it's worked, you should hear the sound as well. So, distress alert, call and message. We've got a distress call, and it is a shout to everyone. Imagine yourself standing on the front of your boat, yelling to everyone in the marina, vessels going down a channel. It doesn't make any difference. You're just trying to attract as much attention as you can to get help to your scenario. So you've got to shout the words Mayday, 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 and I would massively emphasize doing it 3 times. Routine calls, you can kind of push that to kind of 1 or 2, depending on who you chat to. Mayday, you want everyone to know, and you want to know that everyone knows as well. Your boat name 3 times, the NNSI, and the call sign, and you can just get away with going straight into the number. It doesn't have to be, my MMSI is 235 such and such. Just go, this is Millbrook, 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 235, and crack on with MMSI. Same for the call sign. So you'll have a random concoction of letters and numbers, normally 5. So it could be Mike, Lima, Victor, Tango, 5, that could be a call sign. Don't worry, same call sign, just say that bit. Don't pause, and then crack on with the Mayday call. And as you can see, when we can progress down here, we've got a acronym for Mayday calls with the red letters. So Mayday once, because you've already said it 3 times. Identity once, no reason. Sign and MMSI. Position, that can be transferred as a latitude and longitude if you're reading straight off your VHF, or you've got the chart plot to the hand, or it can be a range and bearing to a known object. But if it's going to be a known object or a headland, make sure it's a very well-known object. Nature of distress, so why did you press that red button? Type of assistance required, you just need to put another word in that, immediate assistance. Number of people on board, include, if you end up in a horrible situation of having someone overboard, include the people or person in the water as well, so it's the total number, and I would split that up. 2 people overboard, 5 people left on the boat as an example. Information, any other information that is relevant to the scenario that you are currently in. That could be the boat is sinking, we're jumping into a life raft, we've got life jackets on board, but we've got no life raft. Jumping in the one that the lifeboat or the Coast Guard never want to hear, is the boat's sinking, we don't have life jackets or life raft, but we're about to jump into the water. Anything that would make your boat potentially stand out. I remember a DSC call we heard a long time ago now, we're going back 15, 16 years, and it was down in the Isle of Wight during Cowes Week, and there's probably the best part of 6,000 yachts, and I reckon about 5,500 of them are about 40 foot of white. And that was the information the Coast Guard got. We're a white 40-foot yacht, and we're slowly sinking. And you can just imagine what the Coast Guard are thinking in the office, going, great, Stolen Coast Guard are going to kill us in a minute, because we've got about 5,000 of these boats out there, and we've got absolutely no way of identifying it. Even if they gave a range of bearing to, say, Calshot Spit or something, which is the equivalent of the Kip Chimney when it was there, you're probably only narrowing that down to 2,000 or 3,000 boats. So you really need something that kind of helps them stand out. And that's generally where the smoke flares or the handheld flares come into play. And then you've got to say over. Definitely not out, definitely over, because you want someone to come back and go, yep, I've got your mayday, I know where you are, come into your assistance, we'll be there in 15, 20 minutes. Or quite a long way away, we've picked the message up, we'll transfer it to the Coast Guard, and then we'll relay the messages between the Coast Guard and you because you're slightly too far offshore. You cannot go wrong with one of those calls on your boat. Stick one of those cards up with the information typed in there. Boat name, call sign, name, MSI. Boat name again, call sign, name, MSI. Leave the rest of it because you don't know where you are. Don't know how many people you're going to have on board as well. Just stick that up next to your VHF. We've got one kind of just 90 degrees to Millbrook's VHF, our motorboat. And last time I was on Secret, which seems like a very long time ago, there was one stuck onto the chart table. There isn't space where the VHF is, so we stuck it just onto the chart table, just underneath it. When I do kind of skip a charter stuff and training courses, my safety brief for the Mayday, or operating the VHF, is pretty simple. If something goes wrong to me or the instructor or the skipper, press that red button, read that card, and everything is filled in. So there's not the case of, oh my God, don't know quite what I'm doing, the instructor's broken his leg, he's lying at the front of the boat. You really know what to do because the information is there. And the VHFs are quite good at actually giving you prompts as well. So it's set up to be easy. So if this works, this should be a designated call. I think I've got the video the right way around. Yes, it is. There we go. So into the menu, and I'm just going to pick flooding for this one. The two radios are linked together. So following the on-screen instructions, and in about 4 or 5 seconds time, you just have to wait for the data. It's quicker normally. I think that radio stops in a minute. And I've just accepted it to put it onto channel 16. So you can see one radio there on the left is still waiting for acknowledgement, and the video stops now because you wouldn't see anything else. The video on the left is currently showing waiting for acknowledgement. The only radio or radios that will be able to actually acknowledge it are the Coast Guard or a merchant vessel having a Class A set. So these both are Class D, and that's what we're allowed to use. Being VHF operators, you've got to upgrade to the GMDSS certificate to use anything higher than that. So the radio on the right here, although it can accept it and go, yeah, I know he's in distress, the radio on the left won't know the radio on the right's accepted that. It will only be the Coast Guard that comes on and acknowledge it, and then that will show acknowledged. If the Coast Guard don't pick it up, this countdown will continue, and that will resend after about kind of 3.5 minutes. And it will just keep resending until someone has either acknowledged it or there's been a response. This radio in the background is now set up on high power on channel 16. There's no point in me sending a distress call on low power. I want every single boat that I can possibly find to pick it up. This one is also on 16, partly because I turned it to 16, but it does it itself. I can now talk between these two radios, and although this one, the screen won't change, it will still be able to receive the messages on 16 from this radio as well. So that's a designated one. Undesignated, press and hold. Exactly the same scenario. So I'm not going to chat about it too much. Repeat myself pretty much. But the one thing that will differ, you can see in the middle here that it says undesignated. On the previous one, I knew that the other vessel was flooding, I think. Still get all exactly the same information. And I just let this video run on a little bit so you can see it automatically changes to channel 16. And that should be the video paused on. So, looking on to the pan-pan call, or the urgency call. DSC side of its urgency, what we say with the radio by voice is pan-pan. So the first part is an urgency alert to all ships, and we are not necessarily pushing this to the Coast Guard. We are putting it to all ships. And if we revisit the first slide that I looked at, you're pretty much going to need a tow. And if I jump into being a boat on the Clyde for a second, you've got multiple ferries, you've got tugs, and I'll probably put them out of the category that I want a tow from, especially being a small boat. But I'm not going to be picky if I do need a tow. You've got police boats, you've got pilot boats, and you've got Joe Public on their boats as well. And it may well be that it's some of those boats that come to you and offer assistance, and they might well do it prior to you actually sending an alert out. If you do send a DSC alert and the Coast Guard pick it up, it could well be that they phone one of the commercial ships, or they phone Clyde Estuary and say, I've got a vessel in such and such a position who requires a tow. We get any vessel that could assist. And you may well find it's one of the commercial guys that come along. Failing that, if the answer is no, it's the middle of the night and there's no one out there, you might well end up with the lifeboat out from Helensburgh. And the guys certainly won't object to a towing. They do it all the time. Once we've sent the urgency alert, not talking about the stress alert anymore, we've got pan-pan 3 times. Again, I would emphasise that. I've directed this one to Belfast Coast Guard, but you could easily put all ships in there and just say pan-pan, 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 all ships, all ships, all ships. That's not Millbrook sending the phone number, it's just a random one I made up, same as the call sign, but who I am, identify myself in my enemy sign call sign. My position, engine failure and require a tow, 30 metres in length, 4 persons on board, over. So you can see there's quite a lot of similarities between that one and the distress call. I'm just going to change the words ever so slightly, and the acronym kind of bit Danio kind of just about fits. I dare say someone's quite good at coming up with acronyms could find something that fits in there. So that's the urgency alert. And hopefully this will work as well. So we go into menu, it's DSC calls, and it's an all ships call, and there you can see the safety call as well, should I need it. On channel 16, don't bother sending it any other channel. And I just keep following the on-scene instruction. You can see that happened a lot quicker. Probably just because the radios decided they were going to send the alert quicker. And then I put it on to 16. If you can hear the audio tone on that, and I'm not 100% sure if you can, I can at my end, but I don't know if you guys can. The tone is very, very different. And it's purposely done like that. So the distress alert tone is kind of in your face, really quite loud and piercing. The urgency one just isn't quite as piercing to start with, but it's designed to get louder and louder to eventually have to physically go to the radio and accept it and listen. Designed that people can't just ignore it and it kind of bleeps away in the background for the next 3 hours. So that is a video on the 3 calls. The safety call, just because it popped up in the previous menu, it's done exactly the same time, same way. I would do that on channel 16 as well, but I would address that to the Coast Guard. Okay. Okay. So what we'll do is I'll find